tenets of improvisation, that what's most important is listening, supporting your partner, etc. I introduced the notion that maybe the most important thing and the most important thing you can do in improvisation is make a choice for yourself first. And I think that became a little bit radical. I don't know why. Like air lights get away with it. Yeah.
Mick, what was it about Jen that made you want her to be a business partner with you?
Oh wow! I mean, just everything. We have a really good partnership. As I said, a partnership. I kind of hate it, but it is. And we've been together for 30 years now. We just got married 5 years ago, I believe. And
Congratulations.
thanks. And, yeah, we got married on line during the pandemic. Which was a trip. And I don't know. I just think we work really well together. I don't know how else to say it. I feel really. I've always felt really good about it.
Sure. One of the things that I like and appreciate the most about the Annoyance is that it is still an independent theater. What are your guys' stances on the corporate coming in and taking over other theaters in the city?
I think there's a certain amount of the ability to sort of touch what's happening on a day-to-day basis that really takes someone being around and being part of the process of creation and learning the names of the people that are there and finding out what shows are being done and all of that. And I think that regardless of intention, some of that goes away when there's some corporate ownership. The corporate people that are, writing checks or whatever are not necessarily there night after night or in the afternoon when you're building a set or whatever and making decisions about just how you want things to be. And I feel like over the years, it's always been super important for Mick and I to feel like we have a feeling of what's going on in the theater and how we want things to be done. Everything from like Mick makes all the signs and the art and wants them to be a certain way so that you feel a certain way. When we were building this place, I remember, saying like, do I need to order a sign that says staff bathroom? And it was like, no signs that say staff anything. And, like just being careful about what it feels like so that it feels like the kind of place where you can create and laugh and be yourself and experience joy. And I do think that takes a bit of a personal touch.
There's a lot of creators that kind of come up and do like TikTok. Like that's an avenue for people to get discovered, or just an online presence. How important, or what's your take on that as opposed to people coming up through conservatories in the traditional way?
Well, I think I have kind of mixed feelings about that. Not in a great way. I think it's great. Like I have a little say. I love when someone creates a little something on the internet, like they get a little something going to themselves. I love that. Okay, I love the gay dude right now is taking prompts language and doing a perfect lip sync to it as if he's a gay gnome, but it's prompts, language. We have a fellow here named Matt that's coming here to do a show, and we discovered him through Instagram. He is a Instagram called Puppy Songs, and he writes songs about puppies, and he does a one-man show. He's coming here to do that. So I love whenever someone on the internet finds a little something, a little niche that does that. I think that's really cool. Then on the other hand, like with TikTok, it provides this invitation for people to do all kinds of stuff. So I have a very, given just what I've done, my whole life and immersed myself in this, I guess I have a somewhat elitist perception of what comedy is. So on the internet, I see extremely unsophisticated comedy that then brings a tear to my eye because it gets a ton of affirmation and hits and followers, etc. And I'm like, wow, this is so, like, comedically, this is so unsubstantive to share, in my opinion. Even though I do shows like co-ed prison sluts and all of that in my career in life, I perceive myself as being fairly savvy with comedy and have it, and it's extremely kind of complex sense of what comedy is and can be. So when I see something subpar on the internet like that, it's just kind of a drag.
Sure.
And I believe that places like the Annoyance and Second City Audio, that if you do invest in that as a performer or a writer and go through that culture and that training and all of that raises the bar of your comedy.
Absolutely.
And it helps your comedy. So that if you do then traverse into a land of internet, that you will bring to that everything that you learn, and your comedy will be more. Start questioning that later. That's
Sure.
wonderful.
I think we've seen time and time again, whether it's Charlie Sheen or other people who get hot and think that they can do an hour-long set and get on stage and realize that doing 30 seconds to a minute on TikTok is a lot different than holding the audience attention for 30 minutes to an hour. And I think they find that out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came across a channel yesterday on Instagram. It's completely devoted to making videos about things that you don't need to know and want to know. And one of them was, this is an owl, this is a towel. You don't dry yourself with an owl, even though it rhymes with towel. You use a towel. Period. I find that to be very sophisticated and funny and stupidity. So I can appreciate that when I come across it. But, you know, if you see 10 videos of someone falling off a bucket step in a trailer park, and that's your channel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's been interesting business-wise,
Sure.
I think, to watch how the business is adjusting to these new streams of people getting online and making themselves known, because, you know, the industry's constantly chasing it, trying to figure out, well, what's the best way we can be the one to notice the people first. And so, you know, on audition notices now, they'll say, like, you have to have X number of followers in order to even do the audition or be submitted for it. So that's a pain in the ass, because then, you know, somebody who's really like spending their time just making sure that their live stuff is really good, and they might not necessarily invest a lot of time into their TikTok channel or whatever, might have less of an opportunity to be seen. But then on the other side of that coin, somebody that has put that time in and is talented might get a chance where they might not otherwise have been able to. So it's hard. It's, in some ways it provides opportunities where they might never have been, and in some ways I feel like it's filtering people in a dangerous way.
Yeah. And with the internet in general, like I've been on the internet since before you could click on something. So I was on the internet with those links with the World Wide Web, didn't type everything, like DOS, if you're familiar with DOS. And I was around when Mosaic came out with the first browser. The Annoyance had the very first theater website in Chicago. So I was on that. I used to have to go to a place over here in Sheffield and slip a $20 bill underneath a guy's door and have servers in his closet in order to get on the internet. The guy that taught me how to get on the internet was Dick Costolo, who was an Annoyance actor who eventually became CEO of Twitter. So I'm very well versed with one of the first non-linear digital editing systems of anyone I ever knew. It was called a BD100. I bought a Mac 9600 with a 1 gigabyte internal hard drive and a 9 gigabyte external hard drive and the software. I mean, fighting all of that for $47,000 25 years ago. So we've been, you know, on that, you know, for a long time. You've seen the good of it and the bad of it and all of that stuff. So it's not foreign to us, but
Sure.
and Jennifer's embracing AI more than anyone that I know.
So really good things about AI.
So yeah, I guess it's good and bad. I mean,
And maybe what were Mick Engine, what were those early days like for improv in Chicago, like the 80s?
well, I got here in 1986.
Okay.
So I started Annoyance when I was 27, but I started teaching in second city when I was 24. And it was a bit more, I mean, really, a lot of people ask me, how is it? it changed. And then the question I hate the most is, what do you think improv will be like in the future? Because I have a hard time answering that question.
Sure. It's hard to say what it's going to be like next month.
Well, it's also improvisation is the act of being on a stage, not knowing what you're saying and saying something and making it up. Well, that very thing, is going to always be the same. How it's used, what medium it goes into, if it's used to develop material, it's just in and of itself be a show or performance that can go wherever. But the idea of improvisation is like asking me, like, what's gravity going to be like? Well, you're going to drop something that's going to fall to the floor in the same way 20 years from now.
Sure.
So it's kind of simple about that. What was it like in the 80s? I would say if you did have a bit more of a radical sense to it. We did more shows, I think, than people do now.
Yeah.
We drank a lot more than people do now. One of my favorite days that I remember is when we had the Annoyance on Broadway at Briar. It was on Broadway, so there was a huge deck that oversaw Broadway, so we oversaw the Gay Pride Parade. There were at one point 47 people on this deck during Gay Pride. All of us were on accident. And it's just it was a beautiful day. One of the best days I remember. So I don't think you see that kind of activity anymore.
Sure.
There would be some gummies on the face.
Yeah. Before the midnight show on Saturdays.
Well, that's for sure.
I think also since we're like the structures weren't really there at that time, we were just all figuring out like, you know, when we started it was all one show. We were just doing co-ed prison sluts, and then slowly but surely it was like, hey, we could do shows on more nights of the week, and we could instead of doing the same show, what if we did like a different show Tuesday than we do on a Wednesday and stuff like that? That was not existent. Nobody did that.
No one did that. I remember Dow Close coming into the theater and screaming at me like, "Where are you, he said, "You prolific motherfucker." And what he was speaking to was the fact that we had 13 different shows a week at that time, which for us was insane. Now we have 30-something different shows a week here. But yeah, Jennifer's right now. Sorry for interrupting you. I feel like that we were like the first model to do that. Most theaters that have one show, you know, even the improv sketch theaters, you have one show running.
Yeah. So we were very much at the time, I think, building the world of what this improv experience in Chicago could be, and everybody it was such a big part of our lives, both our work lives as well as our playtime and everything. Like you were just always going to the theater at night, seeing shows, seeing what other people were doing, going to openings, studying, taking classes, and then somewhere in there you're doing your day job. But it was just very much, it kind of overtook your life. I think to some degree it still is that way, but not quite the same.
And now people will bounce a bit more. Like we would go, you go do a Herald at the IO, and then you stay there and try to get fun for 2 hours. Now, you let someone come in here to a 6 o'clock show, whizzing off the IO at 7:30. So we're doing an open mic somewhere, talking 10, then a midnight show second. So it's crazy. So it's still different now. And
Jen, everyone really talks about the boys club and how it was in the early 2000s, but you've been around since the 90s. What was it like being a woman, like, I won't say growing up, but coming up in improv during that time? I mean,
I think there was definitely more talk at the time about like, are women funny? And there was, like every once in a while there would be like an all women's group, and it was like, women are funny. But I feel like the women who, I looked up to that were the powerful women in improv at the time, Tina Fey and Susan Messing and Fran Adams and Ruthie Rudnick and Amy Sedaris, they were just doing it, and they didn't have that conversation. So it was sort of like, yeah, there are people that want to have that conversation, but there's also the thing of just do it and prove you're powerful and prove that you're equal just by being as funny or more funny than the men. So I think that it it was there and something that was discussed, but it was also something that you could choose to not make such a big deal.
Sure.
In the Second City, the guy that I was Second City at the time where I did most of the money directing there, Andrew Alexander, he used the word diversity 25 years before I heard it. And it was always really important to him. It's always been a battle to penetrate that in regards to women and just people of color.
Mm-hmm.
As you probably know. And it's difficult to kind of penetrate that. And also just queer people. So Second City was owned by Andrew. Andrew was always about that. But it was still, even for Second City, difficult to do a lot of outreach and to make that happen. But Andrew did work to make that happen, and he provided me the opportunity of having like the first main stage cast, which is gay men. I also
What was the name of that show?
It was I knew you were fucking my shows. I can't remember. I don't know. It might have been Red Scare, maybe. But I do know that the first. I also had the privilege of doing the first equal gender cast essentially. And that was Paradigm. No, that was Citizen Gates.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was Tina Fey that made that three women and 3 men.
Oh, cool.
It was cool. I enjoyed a lot of advances in that way because Second City's never gone back. They've had lots of queer people in their shows, lots of people of color, and lots of and gender equality. They upheld that.
Yeah, which no longer for a long time in Second City there was sort of the formula where it was like there's got to be the handsome guy and the fat guy and then there's got to be the crazy girl and the sort of more normal.
Yeah.
And that just is thankfully all gone.
Another thing that was, I'm proud of the Annoyance for a lot of reasons that you mentioned, subversive theater, and where you got to find your own voice and stuff. But I'm also just very proud of the diversity and inclusivity that we have at the Annoyance. Because we've always described the Annoyance as kind of the island of misfit toys in a weird way.
Yeah.
And it's a hugely queer theater. It's very diverse in that way. That's the